She Can, we tell women's stories. We show how women got to where they are today. We talk about their journeys, and by talking about their journeys, we talk about lots of different topics that are really interesting, inspiring, mentoring, and motivating for others. I'm really excited to talk to Carrie Gibson today. Welcome, Carrie. I've been so kindly referred to you by Mandy Sangira, who is like a She Can ambassador. She has been so unbelievably helpful. Carrie, you're the president of EcoCentury Technologies, which is an engineering and consulting firm that promotes clean technologies. You're also the VP of Strategic Partnerships at ZiffyCare, and you're the co-founder and partnership manager for NEAT, which is Nutrition Through Engagement and Agricultural Technologies. You're on the board of many foundations. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me here today. It's great to speak to you. Mandy's told me a little bit about the organization and what it represents. And I think telling the stories of women from across the world, from various backgrounds and industries and so on and so forth, is a great opportunity. Not enough women, especially historically, have been showcased to show young girls coming up what their story could look like. And so about me, I grew up in a Northern Indigenous community, as well as because my family is international, I would live in New Zealand and England and places like that. But I'm currently based in Vancouver, BC, and where I wear many hats, as you mentioned. I have my role in New York with ZiffyCare, which is just a phenomenal organization, purpose-driven, delivering healthcare literally on the front lines to marginalized communities. So not just are we delivering in the Eastern US, we actually have teams in Ukraine and Israel, delivering literally on the front lines to ensure that civilians have primary care access. And then, of course, I ran a program at Simon Fraser University, bringing that back home again, that kind of reflects some of my experiences in growing up north and seeing where the gaps lie within remote communities, these systemic concerns where we can basically address the entire vertical in order to close those gaps. So what was it, as well as sitting on various boards and committees, taking contracts for EcoCentury, which is a lot of fun because that's cutting edge clean technology. We've delved into hydrogen and aerospace and everything over the years. And so it's always, it's such a stimulus, in order, it was all these opportunities that come my way to see what's happening locally and globally, and in the sustainability sector. Anyway.
Carrie, it sounds overwhelming and incredible. So tell us a little bit more about your journey. How did you start, and when did you know that green technologies is something you're interested in, that the care system and the health system is something you're interested in? And how do you manage to wear so many hats?
Well, how did I start? It was quite complicated, actually. My first degree was in psychology from Simon Fraser University, who I currently also work for as well. And coming out of that, I got in a major accident. It was a life-changing accident. I became a paraplegic. All of a sudden, I went from athlete to wheelchair user. So I kind of had to reframe what my life was going to look at, and I had to take some baby steps into a career because I wasn't sure what my life is going to look like anymore. I had a clear plan initially. Poof, it was all gone, right? So I actually had this wonderful opportunity. I started volunteering at a women's transition home for battered women, and I was working with with a colleague, and so I was telling her, I said, I need to start looking at actually working again, because this was literally my first foray out of the hospital into doing something structured, right?
Mhm.
And she knew my background, that I had a lot of arts, music, and whatnot in my background, the psychology degree. And she's like, have you ever considered art therapy? And so I immediately, it was referred to this other woman who was hiring for this position in a closed unit, a dementia unit, in a care home, care facility. And it was the most wonderful kind of job to kind of launch me, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been working since I was 8 years old. So, it was the workplace wasn't, new to me per se, but it was new to me in my new situation. And, while I was doing that, while I was working as an art therapist, um, I started engaging with some old friends who were now working in engineering fields and things like that. And I found I kind of had a knack for what was it, being able to get something, like they would innovate and create, and they'd be like, oh, this is the beautiful thing I've come up with. But then they wouldn't know the next steps, the
Yeah.
commercialization process, the government relations and engagement, marketing at, angles and things like that. And I found that came very naturally to me. So, that's how we built toward, what was it, coming up with EcoCentury, and what was it, and launching all these, new innovations into this, what was it, into the public space. And then what was it, from there, Simon Fraser thought, what was it, that running a dev lab to basically get a bunch of people together who are working in various fields to come up with problem questions and solve them on the same day. And so basically I came up with this concept of the NEAT program, and pitched it and essentially sold it. And a lot of the work that I did at EcoCentury ended up folding directly into the NEAT program. And so I have this super cool team that I work with, out at Simon Fraser, and some grad students that come on board with us, and we collaborate with remote and Indigenous communities across BC and Alberta, to, essentially close those gaps, within, their communities, and basically work with them in a collaborative way to fulfill their wish list of how they want to see, their community in the future, going forward. I mean, they had such kick in the teeth. When we first met, Europeans first met Indigenous people, and the systemic gaps, that they face, water, energy, food systems,
Yeah.
education, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And each community is different in where it is and what it would like to achieve and whatnot. And I just have such a fun time working with these communities and learning from them as to, how we address these things, but is it in a way that is also in alignment with traditional ways of being, which is so important. And then of course ZippyCare. What we said, I knew this wonderful man, Dan Rosenstein. What was it from? Met him at the UN. He lives in New York. He worked at the time for Morgan Stanley. He was a senior wealth advisor, and well, he still is, just for a different company. And he called me up one day, and he's like, "I want to introduce you to this amazing woman." He said that, he said that he knew from, what was it, right away, that he had to introduce us. And so I connected with Rada, the CEO of ZippyCare, and right away our values aligned. And so we basically we didn't meet each other forever in person. It actually took a couple of years. Well, COVID happened as well, and for us to ever meet in person. But she was just so phenomenal. And what Zippy Care was doing was so phenomenal. So it just it was just like a natural evolution. And Zippy Care is a technology that I would love to see in remote communities, remote and indigenous communities, because it's this really slick technology that can work anywhere in the world, including war zones.
Yeah, amazing, Carrie. Amazing. I'm just wondering, how do you do it all? I see how it interlinks and what the big vision is. How do you do it on a day-to-day basis?
I have great time management. I'm very structured that way. I kind of really know when to weed out, the important versus the not,
Yeah,
and also having done it so long, I'm able to see the cleanest path to the best outcome so that I'm not wasting a lot of time on busy work or silly things like that. I can just get from A to B done. And a lot of what I do has a lot of overlap, right?
yeah,
It's basically we're looking at different systems and similar systems. Is it and they need several things, and usually from the same people, right?
mm, yeah,
Phoning up the same government ministers. And so, what was it, the same, impact investments, opportunities, and all of these things. So we're just, it's the same people playing in the same playground.
yeah. Carrie, so what would you say is your main motivator? You're a paraplegic who really works with indigenous communities. You have a lot of impact investment experience. You have brought about a lot of change on so many levels. What drives you now after having had all these experiences and having done all that work?
I think, I want to be like my granddad, essentially. I was always so proud of him because he left this world with having done so much for his community. He had that legacy that he just, he kept working every day just to change things a little bit. That's all I want. I just want to be able to go to my grave feeling that I had done something useful.
Okay. Wow, Carrie, yeah, amazing. Carrie, so what would you say are the top qualities that serve you every day? You've mentioned time management earlier. What are the things that make you so good at all these different hats you're wearing?
Yeah, curiosity, that's one. I love to find out, the ins and outs and the various perspectives that influence the whys and how things are and how, what was it, they might be different. And it's from a psychological perspective, from a sociological perspective, historical, political. I love that curiosity that gets me, picking around things and then putting it back together again. What was it? And of course, time management, the basics, efficiency and so on and so forth. I'm just very strategic and a little bit competitive,
Like,
right? The competitiveness makes me want to do the best in things at all times. And, and be having a strategic mind, I'm able to put the puzzle together, see what piece goes here and there, and put it all in the right place to make the pretty picture. And so I think those are my most useful tools.
yeah, I can see. Carrie, so what are you most proud of to date?
Um, what I'm most proud of. Just that I can feel good about what I've done, and that my granddad would be proud of me. I think that's just it. Just general, just having led a good and decent life.
Yeah, yeah. Carrie, and what tips would you have for people who either want to invest with impact or people who might potentially be doing something of impact and are looking for investors?
Well, if you're in the States, look Dan Rosenstein. What was it? I can't remember the current bank. Is it? UPS or something like that. No, that's the wrong one. But anyway, what was it? He is the head of impact investment. What was it? And has so much experience creating change. And you know, the thing is, you can make great money impacting in the right places and in places where you're going to feel really good about where you're putting your money. So you know, we have unfortunately, the COVID has passed. It hasn't, but you know, in people's
Yeah.
minds, it has. And
Yeah.
so people are no longer investing in healthcare, except for our healthcare systems across the world are still ridiculously strained and require, you know, greater investment so that those strong technologies that were able to come out of COVID would then succeed to be able to serve those communities, you know. And you know, closing these gaps, getting people healthy is super important for the economy. You know, what was it? The economy gets stronger when people are back at work, right?
Absolutely.
Well, no longer paying in medical if we have, like, I live in a universal medical system. What was it? You know, the opportunities there to like not be paying out, saving money there. What we said, the tax, you know, income tax that you'll be gaining from having people back at work again. That was just generation of economic, you know, opportunity, having people in the workplace. Like all these things are so super important, and it comes right back down to, like, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of, you know, we've got the healthcare and local food systems, you know, all these things. And that's where the money should go first. Yeah, it's fun to look at like AI and things like that. That's where the money is going currently. It's all in AI.
Yeah.
And you know, there are some spaces where it still would be considered impact investing in AI. Actually, Our Crowd, it's an Israeli VC company, does a really good job at sussing out the best technology for impact investments. So, you know, these are a few things to consider. You know, if you have money to invest, doesn't have to be wads of cash,
Yeah.
but, you know, think about it strategically and think about how you want your money to change the world.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. So, what are your plans and goals for the next couple of years?
You know, I've never been one to have a 5-year plan. You know, it's so funny. It was one of those things that my career kept evolving. And I just kind of rolled with it. I kept on saying yes a lot. And, you know, so I mean, the only times I say no is if I literally cannot figure out how to stuff it into my schedule. But you know, I recently joined the cabinet of an organization called Salal, which is going to build a $50 million capital project, which is basically an all-in-one center for women experiencing who have experienced sexual violence. So for treatment, reporting, healing, literally everything under one space. So women don't have to go around to ERs and police stations and things like that anymore.
That's
Super
amazing.
important. It will be
Mm.
first of its kind in Canada.
Mm.
And when they told me about this, and asked me about the cabinet. Yeah, sure, I'm busy, but this is one of those things where I don't know if you've ever watched Jeopardy and are like yelling the answers at the contestants. I mean, they can't hear you, you know, they're behind their screen in another country. But you know, that's the way I knew I would feel if I said no to joining the cabinet at Salal and seeing this project through. It's so important for the community. And I didn't want to be kind of yelling in the background. Always, I wanted to be on the front lines. So, you know, some of this and that are going to be in my next couple of years, but the rest is a we'll see.
Sounds very interesting and so important, Carrie. Before you, I've interviewed a sexual abuse victim and survivor who's also dedicated her life to making a difference. And so those places are really paramount for women to overcome those sort of traumas and violences going forward, because we still live in 2024 in a society all around the world where we don't believe, where we minimize, and where on the other side of the table, whether that is on the in the AE or in the police station, there is a man who might not believe, right? And that is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, victim blaming and dismissal and, you know, always just finding the loopholes of why to dismiss something like that it just happens all the time. So having your advocates and your reporters directly under one roof keeps everybody accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrie, thank you so much for talking to me today, for telling your story, and for serving others with that.
It's my pleasure. It was so lovely to meet you.